Welcome back. Our last and closing keynote for this day, for the first day of KosICT, will be the project management in game development. This keynote will be delivered by Lorenzo Pilia, who is the founder of Berlin Games Scene. It is my pleasure to pass the virtual scene one last time for today to Mr. Lorenzo Pilia. I'm sorry. We will be back shortly after we check some technical details. We'll be back shortly.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks to the festival organizers for having me. And I think, sorry, I have some audio coming in from the. Okay. Hello, good afternoon. Thanks for having me, to the festival organizers, and also thanks to Nadine from the PEM Consult for making the introduction so that I could be here today. My name is Lorenzo Pilia. I work as a producer for the indie game studio Machine & Mensch in Berlin, Germany. And today I will be talking a little bit about project management in game development. But yeah, since the topic is pretty broad, more specifically, I'm going to be talking about our open development approach to producing and marketing a game in 2020. So as I mentioned, my job title, I'm a producer at Machine & Mensch, is a small 8-people independent game studio based in Berlin. It was founded in 2014 by these two gentlemen, Riyad Gemili and Johannes Christmann. And they met and worked previously before founding the studio. They worked at this larger game studio in Berlin called Yaga. They worked on this title called Spec Ops: The Line, which was quite famous and critically acclaimed title. And at some point, they decided to go independent, to found their own studio and to work on their first game, which was Curious Expedition, which was released initially in 2014. And the game is roguelike expedition simulation set in the late 19th century. Basically, here's a screenshot from the game. Basically, you move across a procedurally generated map. And this map, every time you play, is different. It's procedurally generated, so every time it has a different shape, different elements, different enemies, different situations you can interact with. When you interact with an event in the game, you're faced with different choices you can make. It's a sort of choose your own adventure book, if you like. And yes, and the game, as I mentioned, was first released in 2014, and it had quite a long tail. During the first 5 years, it sold more than 200,000 copies and generated more than 1.5 million US dollars in revenue. And the numbers I'm sharing here are public because earlier this year we made a blog post detailing a bit the history of the game and the sales divided across regions and platforms. So if you're curious, you want to see a bit the behind the scenes of some numbers from this game, you can find them on this blog post. You can just Google Curious Expedition sales history and will come up. Or you can go on codex.io on the blog and you will find it. And since the game proved quite popular, particularly considering it was made by a small team of 2 people, it was decided to produce a sequel, which started production at the beginning of 2019. And the sequel, Curious Expedition 2, at its core is basically the gameplay is pretty much the same, but most noticeably has a completely different art style. So it's moving away from the pixel art style of the first game and is using instead an art style inspired by classic European comics such as Tintin. And yeah, here are some screenshots from the game. Basically, it's set in Paris, the starting point where you then begin your expeditions into these fantastic islands. And Again, you navigate through the map. There are different events and situations you can interact with. And the game is currently out for PC, for desktop computers on Steam Early Access with a 1.0 release coming early next year. And yeah, let's get a little bit into the production and project management aspects of the game. So on this slide here on the left, you can see what the team looked like, what the team for the first game looked like for the first basically 5 years of the history of the company. Basically was the two founders, Riyad and Johannes, which split their duties. Both took care of game design, but then they split the duties when it came to the technical aspect, the programming, and the artwork. And the two of them created pretty much all of the game together with the help of some external collaborators. For example, when it came to audio and music, they had external collaboration rather than hiring somebody full-time in-house. And since, as I mentioned, the first game was quite successful, it was decided to do a sequel. And for the sequel, the scope of the game, of the project was quite bigger. A publisher, a Swedish publisher called Thunderful, also came on board to support. And with the availability, with the success of the first game and the a bit of like larger budget available, it was decided also to increase the size of the team. Right now, as of today, we're like 8 people in the studio. Here I structured it based on the different fields they're working on. So we have a technical director, CTO, who works together with a senior programmer. Then we have the art department with the art director, an animator, and a technical artist. Then we have a senior and a junior game designer. And lastly, there's me as a producer. And once again, we're still working for certain aspects such as audio, music, and also for some of the writing, we're working with external collaborators. And when the pre-production phase for the second title, for the sequel, started, the decision had to be made in terms of which project management tool to use. And ultimately, it was decided to continue using the same tool that the team used for developing the first game. And this tool is called Codex. And it's a project management tool inspired by collectible card games. The tool was initially, it's also developed in Berlin, was initially conceived by a former colleague of the founders of our game studio. And at the beginning of basically 2019, when we started the production for our new game, we had basically the Machine and Mensch team, our indie game studio team, had a chat with the team from Codex, the project management team, and basically it was decided to work more closely together. Actually, Machine and Mensch made a small investment into Codex, the company, and since then we as a studio, we as Machine and Mensch, we are basically co-developing Codex. So we're actively involved in development of this project management tool. The reasons are multiple. I mean, primarily, we decided to invest and to work together with Codex because we believe the tool is very solid, there's a high potential, and it's filling an unserved niche in the market when it comes to project management tools. And yeah, so these are the reasons why we decided to work together. I'm gonna give you a brief overview of this tool, of Codex. So when we say it's inspired by collectible card games, it means that throughout the whole interface of this tool, you have some references to card games. For example, the different sections, the different customizable sections of your project are called decks. Each deck has a cover art, which you can customize and change as you like. And for example, here, an hypothetical game project could have these different sections. You could have a folder, a deck dedicated to game design, one dedicated to coding, one to the art, one to the UI, the audio, the bugs, and so on. And once you select one of these decks, the deck expands and then reveals the cards within. And yeah, as I said, the interface is inspired by collectible card games, and the most famous collectible card game in the world is probably Magic the Gathering. And here is a card from Magic the Gathering if you're familiar with it. Basically, Magic the Gathering is this collectible card game where each card has a very similar structure. It always has like a name on the top left corner. On the top right corner, you have the cost in order to put this card on the table. Here you have a description. Here you have like some other values related to the card. So basically, once you know the basic rules, the basic, let's say, interface of the game, you know where to find all the information very quickly. And basically, Codex applies the same approach to its UI and UX. So if you just have a quick look at these cards within the game design deck, you see they all have a different color, and the color is basically the status of the card. So brown card, this kind of brown color means the card is not being worked on or has not been started yet. A blue card means, with a timer, means somebody is working on the card right now, and this is the time that they spent working on this task so far. Red means the card is currently blocked for some reason, that the person the card is assigned to cannot continue working on this task right now. And green means the card is being completed. Also, just by having a quick look at the card, you can see here like some avatars, and this is the person the card is currently assigned to. Here, this number is the expected effort, the estimated effort for this task. And here on the bottom right, instead, you have the priority level. So the more you get to know the interface, the more you can, the more information you can gather just from a very quick glance at the screen when opening one of the decks. If you further then select one of these cards, the expanded card looks a bit like this. So you have access to much more options when it comes to each card. So again, here you can select or change the owner. Here you can assign the priority. Here is the estimated effort. You can assign to a different milestone, project tags, and from here, from this toolbox, you can access the comment section or the attachments and so on. And this is one more screenshot. So we also, the tool Codex also have a milestone view and metrics. But yeah, I won't go too much in detail. If you're curious about it, the tool is available, and it's possible to sign up for free at codex.io. And Machine and Mensch, our team, is not the only team using this tool. Actually, Codex has been around for quite some time, and there are actually other games in production and games which are already been released, which are using Codex. This is a small selection. For the Darkest of Times, there's also a game made here in Berlin, which won quite a number of awards. NeoCab is another title which was released last year and used Codex throughout the entire production. The same goes for All Walls Must Fall. Fermi Paradox is a game which is still in production. Good Company is already on the market in early access, and Tunche is coming out next year. So this is just a small selection of projects, and we're using Codex. And more recently, also Unity, which is a very popular game development engine, possibly the most popular and known game development engine in the world. They also started using Codex for one of their initiatives called Unity Open Projects. In this initiative, basically, they're developing open source games with the help of their community. And yes, just going back 1 second to the screenshot, to this slide with the structure of our team. If you look on the right side, the team as it is today, probably from a quick look, you can see that from within our team, there's at least one area which is not being officially covered, which is basically marketing. Basically, when it comes to marketing, we don't have a dedicated person in the team. And this is fairly common when it comes to small independent game studios, just because for lack of budgets or in general resources, usually there's no dedicated person of marketing. And as I mentioned, for Curious Expedition 2, our current title, we have the support a publisher, Thunderful, but the publisher gets involved in the marketing mostly towards the final phase of the project, towards the when we're getting closer to the release. So we also tried to decide basically within our team how we would deal with marketing. Since we didn't have a dedicated person, we had to come up also with some creative ideas to do some marketing somehow and promote the game while the game was still being developed and while all of us worked on other tasks. And this opportunity, one big opportunity to do some marketing, starting like building some hype around the title, came when we started planning our closed alpha phase, which launched in November 2019. So basically, we decided before launching commercially the game to the public, we decided it would be very beneficial for our game to have a closed alpha phase, which means basically to have a period of time during which we would share the game while it was still in development, share the game with a limited number of people, share the game for free. Yeah, sorry to the organizers, I'm still getting a bit of, I'm still getting one microphone in my ear. If it's possible to turn it off, thank you. Yeah, I was saying we decided to do a closed alpha phase. So basically to release for free the game to a limited number of players before the commercial release, so that we could fulfill mainly these goals when it came to production. We wanted to, during the closed alpha phase, we wanted to primarily gather player feedback before launching the game, specifically gather feedback when it came to game design decisions, when it came to balancing the game, for example, the difficulty of the game, finding out if the game is too easy or too hard to play, and when it came also down to user interface. So basically, if all the elements in the game, all the interface was easy to understand and navigate. Yeah, sorry once again to the festival team, if it's possible. I'm getting one microphone. I'm getting some voices sometime. Thank you. Yes, and also when it comes to production goals, also one big goal was also to find and solve bugs. So this is always the QA part of a production of a game is always a big part, in particular for a game like ours, which features a large procedurally generated element. It was very, very important to have lots of players play the game and give us like feedback on different elements. And while we were planning this closed alpha phase, we also realized, I mean, we also tried to fulfill also some additional goals, not only for when it came down to production, but also when it came down to marketing. So mainly we decided, okay, we could also use this opportunity of the closed alpha to build awareness for the game, basically let people know the game existed, the game was in production. Also, we wanted to also have players being involved in development process early on, so they would feel more part of the production. And also, we wanted to grow the community around our game. And so basically, the process we came up with for the closed alpha phase can be condensed into these 5 steps. In the first step, basically, we decided to collect the interest of anyone who wanted to participate in the closed alpha through a mailing list, basically a mailing list on our website. Secondly, we decided we would send a unique key to unlock the alpha via email to the people who signed up. Third, the players basically could redeem this key they received via email on our Discord server and get immediately access to the game. And finally, we decided that all the bug reports and feedback would be submitted through Discord and also end up automatically in Codex, our project management tool. And finally, also all the follow-ups with players would be managed directly through Codex. So this is a bit the overview of the process. Now I'm going to go a little bit more in detail with the help of some screenshots so you can better understand. So first step in the closed alpha phase was the player signing up to the alpha mailing list on the website. We set up basically a very simple landing page, a static landing page on our website where people could find a brief description of the game and of the goals for the closed alpha, basically the rules for the participation, and then simply then a sign up, like a text field where people could input their email address and then sign up immediately. Once they sign up, we would send out alpha keys. We wouldn't send out the alpha keys immediately to people who signed up, but we will send them out in batches. So whenever we had a new update, we will send out a new batch of keys. So rather than having all the players playing at once, we had like first 100 people and then an additional 100 and so on. We added them little by little in order to being able to process all the feedback that was coming in. The email was very simple email with like the steps to unlock the closed alpha. Each email featured here a unique key number, which I've highlighted here. And basically the third step, once people receive this email with their own unique key, was to join our Discord server and redeem the key there using a bot. So basically, all they had to do was to send the unique key number they received via direct message on Discord, and then basically the game would be immediately available to install and play through Discord. Here, I don't know, I cannot see who of you is participating out of the session. I mean, because we have limited time, I won't go into detail. I won't manage to explain what Discord is, but basically Discord, simply put, is a ultra popular tool to create basically your own, let's say, chat server, and where basically the community around your game can come and gather and basically write text, share images and materials and so on. But a little known feature of this tool is also that it allows also to sell or to distribute a game through their desktop client. And basically, we made use of this little known feature to distribute the closed alpha of our game. And finally, the final 2 points of the closed alpha, which I'm putting together, and this is a bit the more interesting, the more meaty part of the presentation, is how we collected and processed bug reports using a combination of Discord bots and KosICT, our project management tool. So once the players got access to the closed alpha, they would also see a number of channels became visible to them on the Discord server. Specifically, I'm going to focus on these three ones: the bugs channel, the alpha feedback, and the ideas for explorers. So the bugs channel is, as the name says, basically the channel where players could submit their own bug. We specified a bit of a syntax for players to submit their bugs. So basically, if a player wanted to submit a bug, all they had to do was to type in this channel !bug and then a description of the bug. If they wanted, they could also attach a screenshot of other files. And what happened once they posted this on Discord, on our Discord server, what would happen, thanks to the Discord integration available in KosICT, is that we would immediately get a bug ticket report created in our system. So within KosICT, in the bugs folder, there would be, within a second, basically, a card created with a bug which was submitted. And then throughout the day, like let's say on a daily basis, members of our team would go through the bugs which had been submitted, and then they would look at them, and then eventually they would continue and process them. Usually the process would be that somebody would take ownership of the card, of the bug. In this case, with this example I'm making here, let's say a player submits a bug where they say, hey, the screen goes black after the first expedition is completed. And let's say I'm saying, okay, I'm taking ownership of this bug. Here you see I assigned the bug to myself, this card to myself. Here is my face. And then the next step here would be to find out more about this bug so that we can reproduce it and solve it. And basically, what happens here, I would go on Discord in the conversation, in the comments section on Codex. And basically, I would just tag the user at Discord and say, hey, thank you for reporting this. Could you please let me know more about this bug? Could you, for example, tell me which Windows version you're using? And once I sent this comment within Codex, the player who submitted originally the bug would immediately get a direct message on their Discord account, and they could continue chat with myself or with the other developers from Discord. And basically, the conversation could proceed between Discord and Codex for as long as needed until eventually, hopefully, the bug would be completed. And then at this point, when the bug is considered completed, we mark it as green, we mark it as completed and becomes green on Codex. And then what would happen on the Discord server, there will be basically a public shout out to the player, to the user who initially submitted this bug report. And usually this also generates a bit like, it creates a bit more involvement from the point of view of the player, and it also shows other players that their bug reports and their feedback is taken into consideration. And so we try to make a bit this process of bug solving, which usually is done in the dark, behind the scenes, we try to make it a bit more transparent so that players know we're working on the game, they know what we're working on, they know how many bugs are being solved, how often, and so on. And further then, during the development of the game, at some point we also added an additional way for players to submit the bugs. Basically, now players can also submit bugs directly from within the game. This is also a new system we implemented later on. But at the beginning, we were only using Discord in order to submit bug reports. One other channel we have on our Discord server is the Ideas for Explorers. So all our entire game revolves around explorers navigating these islands and exploring these islands. And basically, we created a section on our Discord server where players could also submit ideas for famous explorers, real historical figures they would like to see on the game. And for example, one player suggested to have as a famous explorer Jules Verne, the famous writer. And then basically what people, what the players, other members of our community could do is to upvote using the emojis at the bottom of each suggestion. They could upvote them basically. The more people upvoted a suggestion, the further up on the leaderboard this suggestion would go. And basically what happened after a few months of this initiative, we picked the two most voted suggestions for famous explorers, and then ultimately we implemented them in the game. And this was basically another way of including our community into the development of the game. So to show them that they can also suggest features, not only submit bugs, but also they can suggest features or content ideas that we would take into consideration. So this was a way also to get closer to the community and make them more involved in the development. And yeah, this sort of features of like bug reporting and suggestions, for example, for the famous explorers, these are built-in features in Codex. So if you sign up on codex.io to the tool, you can also very easily, within minutes, you can integrate a similar Discord integration on your own server. And yeah, this is a bit how it looks. So we ran the closed alpha phase for the game for around 6 months. So from November 2019 to May 2020. And these are a quick overview of the results. The mailing list subscribers we had increased from 2,000 to 7,000. The members of our Discord server community, they grew from 1,000 to 4,000, and we had a total of 1,500 active participants to the closed alpha. So these are really players who activated the closed alpha, but they also then played it and then sent us feedback. And most importantly, the really the main production goal we had for this closed alpha was achieved, which was, to have, of course, after this months of playtesting, to have a more balanced and stable and build of the game, which basically then allowed us to launch commercially the game in June 2020. And yeah, as I mentioned, a game like ours really benefits from feedback from players, and this was really beneficial for us to be able to do this in a closed environment with a limited amount of players, rather than immediately going sharing the game with the entire public. And yes, I also tried to compile, this is my last slide, I also tried to compile some quick takeaways from our own experience. So yeah, the situation in your case might be a bit different, but I think we can all agree that no matter how small or how big your team, at the end of the day, the resources are always limited. And so it makes sense whenever possible to try to think a bit outside of the box and to combine multiple goals. And in our case, when it comes to our closed alpha phase, we combined two goals. We combined the goals of the production with the goals of the marketing. So the production was the main reason why we did this closed alpha, but then we also realized we could also add a marketing layer and have some marketing benefit with a little additional effort. Also, I would say very important, this process we came up with for the closed alpha was not made completely out of the blue, but it was based on some research we made. So basically, we researched the market. We checked what other developers were doing at the time, which kind of tools and platforms they were using, and also we checked a bit what players were mostly responding to. In our case, what came up was very clear is that like Discord is a prominent platform this day for building communities around your game. And we saw it would make sense to try to concentrate as much as the presence for the community into one platform, into one space, and this was Discord, which is where, as I showed you, is where we collected the feedback and the bug reports. And also would recommend consider sometimes to also develop your own custom tools. I mean, developing your own custom tools can take time, so you have to do a bit of like evaluation of like the effort it takes for you to develop custom tools, and also what is the output, what the value you can get out of it. In our case, spending some time creating some custom bot for Discord, it wasn't too intense in terms of like time it took in terms of like designing and implementing these tools, and it definitely saved us a lot of time in the long run, because being able to collect all the feedback and bug reports automatically and then being able to process them on KosICT directly, this saved us an immense amount of time. It made sure that no reports or suggestions got lost. It made sure we could always follow up with players at any given time. And also, what also became clear very quickly is also that often this type of tools, it's likely that even though you develop them for your own self, for your own project, often these tools can also be interesting for other developers. Then it could also become a spin-off project or product. You never know. And finally, I would consider. I mean, again, it depends on the type of game you've got, but it does make sense to involve your community early on before your commercial release. And not just waiting until the game or your project is out for involving the community. It makes sense to involve your community early on, as they can become ambassadors for your own game. They can be more forgiving towards issues your game has, and so ultimately, by the time then you launch commercially, your game, your project is at a much better state. And yes, this was it. Thank you. Yeah, if you want to find out more about the game, you can find out more at curious-expedition.com. If you want to find out more about Codex, the project management tool we are co-developing, you can go to codex.io and you can sign up for free. And you can also reach out to me at lorenzo@machine-bench.com, or I'm also on Twitter at Lorenzo Pilia. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. That was a very nice ending to our first day of KosICT here at Kutia Dev Stage. I want to thank you all for joining us, either virtually or here. We'll be back for another pack day tomorrow, which will start at 10. Until then, have a lovely day, and most importantly, stay safe. Thank you.